All right, the next and last segment in today's episode is going to be about a certain prospect, and that prospect is Bryce Young, my favorite quarterback prospect in this draft class. I hope I don't lose any validity, but my favorite team is the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have two of my favorite players in this draft. So you could call me biased, but I view it as I've seen these players more than most people, so I kind of think I have a good idea of what they're capable of doing at the next level. But Bryce Young, there's been a lot of Bryce Young talk recently about his size, about his frame. Um, Measured in at 5'10" and a half, about a buck 80, which is small, definitely, which is small. But there are quarterbacks who have been that small size wise, who have been very successful. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, two guys kind of in the 5'10" range, short kings. The thing with Kyler though and Russell Wilson is they're a bit bulkier. They're a bit more muscular. I think Bryce Young. Well, I don't think Bryce Young's been working with a nutritionist to try to get his weight up. So there's a good possibility that come draft day he's 200 even and a lot more muscular. But part of Bryce Young's game is his shiftiness, his elusiveness, his pocket dancing ability, so to speak. But I just want to talk about Bryce Young, what I like about him, what I think about him, and where I think maybe he could end up. So just talking about Bryce Young, first year at Alabama, 2020 was the backup to Mac Jones. They won the national championship that year. His first year starting, and don't forget, guys, he was like the number one recruit. He was like I think the number one quarterback recruit ever coming out of modern day. Originally was committed to USC, then flipped, went to Alabama. Um, Backed up Mac Jones 2020. 2021, Bryce Young went 366 for 547, completing 67% of his passes for 4,800 yards, 47 tugs, 7 picks, and a 167.5 rating. Won the Heisman Trophy, took the Crimson Tide to the national championship. Unfortunately, lost to the Georgia Bulldogs, but was phenomenal, sensational, everything you could ever want. The following year, not too much of a drop off, but obviously not as historically great. Threw for 3,300 yards, 32 touchdowns, 5 picks, 163 rating. Dealt with a little bit of shoulder injuries last year. Nothing serious, just a little bit of a shoulder sprain. But talking about Bryce Young, what are some things about his game that are great? His pocket awareness is fantastic. His accuracy is great. His ball placement is amazing. I think he's got really good touch, and I think he throws a nice deep ball. He's a good athlete. He's not a great athlete like Kyler or Lamar or Justin Fields. He's a good athlete though. Like I said, he can extend plays, buy himself time, and if need be, scramble and pick up a first down. I've been seeing some Twitter. I've been seeing some people on Twitter say that he's a running quarterback. If you watched him in Alabama, you know that is not the case. He ran as an absolute last resort, and there were times actually where I wanted him to run, and he would just kind of uh, go horizontally on the line of scrimmage and by himself, and then run last second. So he's not like a straight runner. He's gonna want to throw the ball, and I think that he knows, he knows he's small. He knows he can't really take big hits, especially at the NFL level. So he's trying to protect himself and brace himself as much as possible, which is smart. He has an ability very similar to Russell Wilson, where he doesn't seem to get big hit. He doesn't seem to get hit a lot. He's pretty good at putting himself in good position to not take those big blows from those D linemen or from those linebackers. Um, Obviously, some of the weaknesses of his game would be size. A screaming edge rusher could obliterate him from the outside, and so that does cause some risk for injuries if you're Bryce or if your team's thinking about taking Bryce. And then short quarterbacks like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's biggest weakness is throwing over the middle of the field. I think actually Bryce Young does a very good job of that, but I don't know if that will continue at the NFL level. I have to see. And that's not me downing him. I genuinely just don't know if that'll continue at the NFL level. So we'll have to see. But there's not a lot not to like about Bryce Young other than the size. So how much does his size kind of affect his draft stock? Well, I don't think it does. I think teams still view Bryce Young as QB1 in this draft. Obviously, he hasn't done his pro. He's not going to be throwing at the combine, but he is going to throw at his pro day. So teams will see kind of just how good he is and everything like that. I think the team that is more likely or not to take him is going to be the Texans, or if/when the Bears trade that first overall pick. whoever they trade that first overall pick to could take Bryce Young. I don't think Bryce Young is going to be there at 5 for the Seahawks, unfortunately. Um, but I do think that he's going to be the first quarterback taken off the board. I do think teams like him over C.J. Stroud, like him over Anthony Richardson. Um, if the say the Bears don't trade the pick, right? The Bears aren't going to take Bryce Young. Say the Texans don't take Bryce Young, um, and he falls right into the Colts' lap. There's no way if Bryce Young's on the board, the Colts aren't taking him at 4. There's absolutely no way. So the absolute latest that Bryce Young is going to go is pick 4. So he's going to be a top 5 pick. He's going to be the first quarterback taken off the board, I'm sure. Again, there's just not really much that you can say wrong about Bryce Young's game other than his size. Um, Maybe one other thing I could say is that I think he sometimes holds the ball on a little too long. Um, I think in the NFL level, he's got to learn to just when a play is dead, when the defense just beats you, throw the ball away. I think he did take some sacks at Bama, um, but I mean that happens. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Bryce Young down below. I'm very interested to hear, and let me know where you think that he's going to end up